You're supposed to say hello.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for coming and joining in and watching on this video. We want to first give a shout out to the village. We want to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening and giving all the comments. We appreciate the love, consistent support. And we probably need to stop because your timer. Jeez. But the cool thing about our podcast, we're not gonna cut that out. We're gonna leave it right in there. You got it?
It's the chicken, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. Gotta
You
do the
almost-
chicken. It's
Almost
fine.
face my kid.
No, I'm fine.
You're like Minnie though. You don't burn chicken, do you? Okay.
Serious?
All right. So back to it. Thank you guys for listening, watching, leaving the comments. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the YouTube. So what we are,
Always the YouTube.
yeah, the
The
YouTube.
Facebook also. Like,
Yeah.
that ended like 20 years ago.
The book face. I've said that a few times. But this is the hot seat where we're always going to be consistently honest, open, transparent in our communication. So for me, that is a challenge because the whole issue with vulnerability, but it's something that I'm consistently working on. And what we have brought on what we brought on today is our two very emphasis on the Clarks. So we got Ashley and we got Carl here. Our objective as we're getting closer to the date of marriage is to be empowered through our friends to be able to overcome certain obstacles. So we've brought them on to talk about relationships and money in particular, because that is one of the top 3 reasons why a lot of married couples end up getting divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Oh, we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys coming through.
Man of very few words. So,
3.
right.
That's
Three
good.
total.
That's good. So what we want to get from you guys is short and sweet as far as your guys' relationship, how long you guys known each other, and yeah, we'll just start off right there.
Short and sweet.
It's been
Speak up. Let the people hear you.
it's been almost 18 years of actually being together.
Yes.
So we've actually been all together, dating, married, engaged, all of that. It's been almost 18 years.
That's basically our entire
That's it.
relationship.
Yeah.
18 years. So
Yes,
you guys
18
met
years
at
total.
what age?
16. I was 16, he was 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is that's 2 decades.
Oh, yeah.
Almost 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you can tell, there is somewhat of a divine imaginary line because they've known each other for 18 and we've known each other for 20 years. So we got them beat. But if we want to be competitive,
For as long as we've known each other.
But what we want to get into is the minutiae, the differences between actually knowing and being. So that's what we want to talk about today. So the relationships.
Readjust, get ready. It's gonna be serious.
Right. You good?
You ready to go? It's game time. Okay. So from our standpoint, we want to talk about us, and then you guys like respond back like, "Oh, that's great." But when it comes to being in a marriage, being in a long-term relationship, how would that different advice on how we could maneuver through those different obstacles? Because again, we've known each other for 20 years, but we haven't known each other on this level for probably like 2 years. 2
Yeah.
years. Yeah, 2017 official talking. End of 20.
There's some controversy around this.
Well,
2017 is the official start of
Man and woman.
Yes.
Man and
Of
woman.
us.
Okay.
Yeah. No boyfriend, no girlfriend, none of that
Just-
stuff.
Yes.
No
Just
boyfriend,
man
no
and
girlfriend.
woman.
What month?
Say it at
No.
the same time.
January.
Say that.
No, January.
January.
Yeah, it was January.
February.
Yeah, before then, like, I guess you could say the last quarter of 2016 was more of our conversation about her situationship.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but we didn't start on our little journey till January 2017.
After the situation.
Yeah, and we did an unconventional route. We didn't do as the good Lord says. I mean, we had a few practicing sessions. We didn't withhold from each other anything.
Yes,
We didn't hold
withholding nothing.
We
yeah.
didn't withhold nothing back. So that is one challenge as we're going through this journey, trying, because Pastor said that you got to be celibate. You got to try. You got to do it right. Since you
Yeah.
made that commitment, you got to do.
You
I
can
guess
do it. We
yeah.
did it for
You
6
gotta do
years.
it.
So
Yeah.
you can do it.
You got to
College
do.
and everything.
Oh, but you
there was
had
an
never
explosion after.
done
Yeah,
it.
you have never done
Is
it.
this true?
So with us, we're well.
What do you mean?
We're
We
seasoned.
had never had sex, so
Yeah.
then can we say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
can say that.
No, who's watching.
Like, oh, wait.
Sorry, we have not.
We had it, but it also
That's
made
smart.
it more enticing
Yeah.
to try it. I mean, we didn't know it was, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we seasoned in the, slip and dip, we seasoned in that area. So there's a challenge to like stop.
Not.
Right.
And then especially with us being extremely high desired,
Both.
and then our relationship is kind of like a competition. So that
It doesn't work out well.
Yeah,
So we've
it's
had
a
a few
challenge.
nights where it's like, okay, I'm gonna take the couch tonight.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So you do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And in our group conversation, we tried in a different way, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, we already,
Yeah.
our-
Yeah.
our accidental, not great,
Yeah, we fell short of
The glory.
the glory of God. So,
We're all or nothing kind of couple. There's no in between or halfway.
Recommended
No.
by us.
Yes, no.
highly advocate to the opposite side of the spectrum.
It was like, well, I mean, you could, but I don't think you guys, with
No.
who you are and how you are.
Mm-mm.
I even think like the 21 times or something was like mentioned in there with that too. So
Oh yeah,
probably should have paid a little bit more attention to that.
average 3 times a day,
I
like
know,
breakfast,
right?
lunch, and
It
dinner.
made more sense.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's not true.
The
Yes, that's
Lord
the good
forgives.
part.
Yes.
We go to Him and repent.
Excuse me.
But yeah, so that is us. We've always been on the friendship type of level, new to the relationship stage between the both of us. But not that we've had other relationships beforehand. And so that is at least sort of like a stigma when it comes to us, is because we might be carrying something from the past, a little resistance to being vulnerable, me. And so that's created somewhat of a challenge. And it's funny because I'm the one that came up with the honest, transparent communication, but it wasn't for me to do. It was for me to receive.
Right.
That way I can feel comfortable reciprocating. But she wasn't having
Equal.
Right.
She demanded equality,
Yeah.
equal rights, and she added being open
Yeah.
as well. So that's where the whole hot seat type of foundation to our relationship came from. So now back to the Clarks.
Or the Gans.
They must have talked to you about it. They must be talking about him.
They must
They
be.
must be talking about him. The Clarks. So, I mean, when you guys kind of first started, was there like look, this is how we're going to go about things? Or was it just like, oh, you're going to be my girlfriend and I'm going to be your boyfriend? Because you were 16, like you were in school, like high school.
Initially, yes, we started talking, kind of dating over the summer. So it was like a lot of this, oh, let's go to the movies, let's go to Mulligan's. It was just like teenage love.
Uh-huh.
Puppy love.
But it got serious real quick. like we had what he would call QT, which I hated, but it was like quality time.
I cannot.
You can, like a little bit.
I can't. No, like this. My knees are right up against. I can't.
So we would have what he would call quality time.
It's not fair, you guys. I'm 5'1", so if you see my feet,
She's 4'11".
I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm 5'1.5", technically.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Don't forget the half.
it's very important when you're not like 5'5".
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know the problem, but yeah.
Every skinny accounts.
Anyway.
So yeah, it got serious quick. He would bring up stuff that now that I know that he saw in like his older brother's relationships that he saw worked. But for me, I'm like, I'm 16. I don't understand why we're talking about like asking each other if we can go places. Like or if I could spend money on something. Like that was beyond my scope of where we were going. Like I just, we just thought we were kind of like together. But in hindsight, I'm so grateful for it because a lot of people say marriage is difficult in the beginning, but for us it wasn't because we had been kind of grooming towards it for 5 years, 6, almost the whole time.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It caused a lot of heated discussions.
Yeah. I think our craziness came in the relationship.
Right, before we got married.
So we spent that time getting like the things out of the way.
Which was great because when we got married, our issues were sex and like differences with the kids, like how we handled the kids.
Right. Yeah.
Because we couldn't really practice those
Yeah,
2 things
no.
before we got married.
Gotcha.
But we didn't have to deal with them. Like, we'll get to money, but we didn't have to deal. We've almost never had to deal with money issues since we've been married. Before, yes. but since we've been married, it's been cool.
So my question would be, you're taking that approach, almost like a marriage approach in your boyfriend-girlfriend stage. So is that because you were like extremely committed to Ashley, like from the get-go?
Yeah.
And on your end, how did that make you feel that he was taking it that serious to the point like we're gonna put the foundation for an everlasting relationship?
I said I would. So I was a very studious high schooler. Like I just was, which was very different from him.
I was a student.
Oh,
Student
you
of the game.
were a
Student of
student,
the
yes.
game.
You did attend and were enrolled in academic institution. But 3 months in, we were already dating this summer, and I was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. I was being so dramatic because we would talk every day, all day, like literally 22 hours a day. And so I was like, I don't want to go to school. So I was very committed to him too, but his approach was just so different to anything I'd ever seen because I was raised by my mom, who was single, and so there was not a man that she had to be accountable to or share anything with. Like, she just got up and did whatever she wanted to do whenever she wanted to do it. And so for him to be like, oh, like, let me know, like, run things by him, it was reciprocated. It was both of us doing it, but it was still a very foreign concept. And it's not like you have other friends who are 16, 17 who are going through that too. They're all telling you, oh, he's being controlling. Like, this is a sign that he's controlling, right? So it was hard to reconcile, and that's why it was very heated. He was like, this is for the future. And I'm like, I just want to go to my friend's house. Like, I just want to spend my money.
Gotcha.
So I was very short-sighted, and he was much more long-term. So
I could see that. I thinking about it, I would probably be like, but why though?
oh, it was a lot of that.
Why? Like,
Yeah.
explain it to me in full detail.
Right.
I don't like.
Right.
That's why we talk so much.
Yeah. There was a lot of QT time. There was a lot of QT time.
Our conversations were extremely good and bad. They were long, but nothing I would ever take back.
Yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
It was really good experience.
So at any point, did it feel like it was more like child adult like? Because it's a lot of.
It was all one way. Like I was the
it
one.
It just seemed like I gotta check in with Pops over here and make sure it's okay before I go.
I think it was more like I've heard. I think it was more of an independence factor. Like I know I've heard you talk about it, and like so I saw my mom. She was a single mom because my dad died, so it was not something she could have controlled, but it left her in not the greatest financial situation. So I was the same way, like growing up, like I'm going to be independent. If I get married, great, but if I don't, like I'm not going to need like an income or a man to help sustain. So it was weird to have to check in. It didn't feel like a dad because he did the same thing. So he made it feel mutual.
Okay.
It was just my mentality was like, I don't understand why I have to do this right now. Like
I made the money. I want to spend the money that I made.
Right.
What do you have to do with the money that I made? I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Fast forward, 10 years, his frugal ways have allowed us to do a lot with the money that we have. Like we're not rich, but we've done a lot and accomplished a lot because he's always been very good about let's check in, let's make sure this is gonna work. Like we can't just spend money because we want to spend money every single time we have money.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Okay. So you guys brought up things being heated. Like what exactly? Where did the heat come from? Like what was the trigger? What was the topic?
That's outside of what we just said, like outside of
the just checking in portion.
Other things that were heated.
I feel like that was a lot of it because when you're teenagers,
because
you just want to go. Like you want to. It wasn't like it was just him and I. Like we had friends, we had family, and so it'd be like, oh, maybe we were gonna hang out on a Saturday, but my team was gonna go out and go bowl. So I'm like, hey, like, is it cool if we go bowl? And like sometimes it would be like, no, let's hang out. And I'm like, what? Like we're always together. Like it was more that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And again, it wasn't like a controlling thing. It was more just we need to get used to checking in with each other and not living like separate lives, but living a life that's like got the same goal.
Gotcha.
That and money, I feel like were like the biggest things. I can't really recall if there were other things that we like really got into it.
It was just a matter of like us not letting people on the outside just influence and like kind of take us off track.
Right.
Because
that
happened. And I would always tell her. It's one thing what my mom would always tell me when it came to having things like I wasn't the kid at school who had Jordans and all that stuff. Like we had kids, and I will never forget. It was a buddy of mine. His parents, I believe his parents picked him up, or his mom or dad picked him up from school when the Jordans came out that year. He left, came back at lunchtime with the new Jordans on. Like, and I was like, that to me was like, why would my mom do that? She doesn't love me.
She doesn't love me.
And my shoes got holes in them.
Right, I was like, that was just the craziest thing. But my mom and my dad would say, well, what you don't understand and what you probably don't know is that a lot of those kids are not in the same situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You live in a house that we own that's really big. They're probably going home in their Jordans to an apartment. So it's like those shoes don't mean anything.
Yeah. So your
Like,
focus
you know what I mean?
was always
so
been
then it
long
was
term.
like,
Right.
then it became like, dang, like, so then I remember asking somebody too, I said, hey, do you live in a house or you, I live in an apartment. I was just curious, like, I'm like, is that real? Like, I know it's not everybody,
Right.
Right.
but I was just curious, like, I would ask the people who
Yeah.
were like the biggest, like, flossers who would have, you know, apartments. I was like,
Gotcha.
wow, and that changed
Right.
everything. I was just like, oh, at that point, I was completely cool. Like, I was like, all right, cool. I'm good with everything that I'm given.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
Never-
see, that's how he was raised. I was raised totally different. My
Yeah.
mom was trying to compensate for the fact that we didn't have a dad. So
Right.
it was, you pretty much get whatever you want, whenever you want it. Like,
Gotcha.
we may not have the money for it, but I'm going to figure out a way to make sure you stay happy. And
Gotcha.
so, coming from those complete opposite spectrums, like, you're like, you have a home and food and shelter and, like,
Some sense
be
of
happy
security.
and something on your
Yeah.
feet. And my mom's like, I'm playing in Jordans, like, and like playing in Jordans just because, like, there was literally a game where my shoelace broke. All I needed were new shoelaces. We literally went and bought Jordans for me to play in.
Oh wow.
Because, and I don't even think I really knew, like, they just were
No.
there and they were cool, and I was like, yeah, I want those. And I got those. So
Gotcha.
it's just,
Right. So the things that we got, like the things that happened to tie that together is other people coming in and trying to like kind of, you know, push us off track. And I would tell her, well, who are they? And then be able to then dissect their situation and say, okay, he's not even talking to anybody. So
you're talking about like relationship advice.
yeah, so
Oh,
like,
okay, I
so
was
like
like,
when
huh?
people, because what we were talking about is the things that we got into. It'd be
Yeah.
like people that are getting into our relationship, and because you know they think that I'm doing something, I'm controlling or whatever, and then it's kind of like causing
Yeah.
things between us, like just bringing up questions. I'm like, well, I get it, but look at their situation. Like,
Right.
so are they in a relationship? No.
Right.
And then
Gotcha.
others was just like, okay, well, is their relationship actually good?
Kind of
No.
like that misery
Gotcha.
loves company
So-
kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I'm just like, you know, and it was from teenagers all the way up to adults, like people who were, you know, related, that was just that was much older than us,
Gotcha.
and I'm just like, it still applies. So she's much older than us, right? But I've never believed that wisdom comes with age. So
Right.
now she's much older. What's her situation? She hasn't been with anybody for years. So, you know what I mean? So it was that kind of things where we would kind of
Okay.
go back and forth with, but then I would still just have to kind of bring it home, just like similar to like
Gotcha.
what my mom did and what my dad did for me when it was things that I wanted. And I just felt like, why not? You know.
So, during those times, you always kept like a level head, pretty much.
Tried to.
If you don't know Carl Clark, this is
Try
the
to.
only level
I
that
was
he
gonna
really
say,
has.
is there another level? Because I don't.
Right.
Like, I think I saw you mad and it looked like
It
this. So I'm not sure there is, like, maybe a percentage of an
The
octave a
tone
little
changes
higher.
a little
I'm mad right
bit.
now.
Gotcha.
Right.
Like, you just have to look at that one eye and see if it's, like, squinting a little bit. That's the only, like,
Right.
I was gonna say, I don't think.
So
He's been always been really good at like staying the course, not like shiny object syndrome. Like anything
Okay.
comes and I'm like, oh, but this looks good. Like, why don't we do this over here? And it's like
So-
leading me off a cliff.
in the
So-
sense of during your guys' I guess developing stage for the long-term relationship, you guys did the same thing we're doing now, which is blending.
Right.
Because you have
Yeah.
like the independent side,
Yeah.
and then the long term. I have a big scope plan.
Right.
So when did it start to like come
together.
for you guys?
I would say probably after once we went to college, things got easier, I would say. So maybe a few years.
Because you were
I would say
used to
because
it?
I would say
We had
a little
already
bit of
been
that,
doing it
and because
for so
we were
long.
older.
Okay.
Okay.
And maybe because we were on our own, like I was living in the dorms, he was living in the dorms, so we didn't have.
We didn't have like. It wasn't like.
It was like
adults.
us. Like we were kind of
it
like
wasn't
us
Okay.
adults
already.
saying like no, or just it was like no. Now we're.
Us against
You're
the
kind
world.
of away
Right,
from.
yeah. It was really
Okay.
like this is what we're building and doing, and
Okay.
if others don't like it, like, like
As long as we
great,
have each other.
right? Yeah.
Okay. So at any point was it like, because you said people would say you would control her.
Yeah.
So was there a statement ever made? Well, she controls me too.
Well, that was
'Cause it's
always
equal
kind of
exchange.
the right.
You
That
always
was
gotta
always kind of the
check in with each
argument.
other.
Like, how can then I would be controlling him too if he's controlling me because he's
Right.
abiding by the same like
Same
rule or same
principles.
principle of
Right.
our relationship. So it was always like a phony excuse.
Right.
Because even when I say, but he does the same thing, and he's even worse. To this day, we still do it with little things. Like he'll text me, "Can I get this phone on iTunes?" I'm like, "Yes, please get the song. I think 99 cents is gonna be okay." Like this is real stuff. Like, but that's the kind of thing that has always, again, kept us out of trouble because we've known people who are like, "Oh, I put my paycheck in my account and I have no idea where it went," and it's like, how do you not know? But it's because the other person is just living their best life with the joint funds.
And it's theirs, or they feel like it's theirs.
Right.
And I took that approach. For me, I went against that early, where it was just like nah. Like early on, it was like
Which was very
This
hard
is
because
our
which was hard.
money.
But it was like
I don't
an
think it
easy.
was hard for
It made it.
No, I'm just saying in general, but
Right, but the way I see
Really how you were
it, the
feeling.
way I saw it was that
trying
if
to
you
get
were
me
hurt,
on. I know. This
I
is your
was
motto.
hurt.
Yes.
Oh wait,
Yes.
say that so
That's
people
my
know.
favorite line.
Say it so people know.
What is it? It's if you have a problem, right?
if
If I have a problem.
yeah,
Then we have a problem.
I'm
And
making a shirt out of
Which,
that.
so-
It's like, I'm gonna if she has a problem, we have a problem.
Right.
And I'm gonna put by Carl Clark.
Right.
I'm not.
Carl.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That for sure needs to be a me. If she has a problem, then we have
Right.
a problem.
That's a very grown-up like mentality to have as like a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But it's helped us in like everything.
Yeah, and that's why I'm grateful to have came up under like my brothers and stuff, and to not even say that they were like that, but like I learned things from them, whether it was good or bad. Like, okay, I'm not gonna. That's probably not how I'm gonna approach this, but I'll approach that in this way,
Right.
and then just bring it together. Come to her, hey, bounce it off, and then we push.
You good? So I think we're ready for the next topic because it's what came up a few times, which is money. So that being probably like again top 3 of why relationships, marriages ended up coming into a divorce. It's so big. What's happening over there?
The
Hold
water.
Lights, I'm not used to the lights. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Get your water. But from what I know, you're the accountant.
I am the accountant.
No, go back in there. Go back in there. Oh my goodness.
Good, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Really? You guys haven't heard all of that?
No.
Anyways, we have kids. Whatever.
6 of them here.
Yes.
6. Somebody's upset now. Okay.
Right.
They've been so good.
Right. Okay.
Handle that later.
Now.
But anyway, so you're the accountant.
Yes.
You're like from what?
Professional dad.
No, we talking about money.
Say professional.
Professional dad. You proud? Thank you for sharing. But so how do you guys manage the money? Because both of you guys obviously do work. So how do you manage like your guys' money? Because you said you would check in with him, how he operates with money. So who handles the money? How does that work in your guys' relationship?
I guess that depends on like who handles the money.
It's a joint effort.
It's not like one person per se. It's both of us just making sure that there's money there.
So it's, so I'm the accountant, so I track my whole life in spreadsheets.
Right.
So I like handle all the bills, and we kind of jointly always check in whenever we're gonna spend money on like anything. So, and yeah, that was an issue. Yes, we both work, but there's a disparity. Always has been a disparity because that's how it's worked.
Yeah,
which is okay.
Right, and
huge
there's
disparity.
never. I mean, right, and I don't think there's ever not a disparity, but my thing from the get-go was no matter what it is, from me, it's gonna be ours. So, so it may be a disparity on one end, but I make it clear that
Clog me. It's like a cute hole.
The claw.
It's just feels so awkward, like giant spider. Okay, go ahead.
I make sure that
Make sure
that no matter what, nothing would change if it goes the other way.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like that. Like I wanted to make sure that wasn't a focus. Like that didn't actually mean anything. Like, what does it mean if you make more than him? Like, what does that mean?
it meant a lot in the beginning. It was hard.
Right, but if you just think about it conceptually, it doesn't really mean anything. Like it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
When you're married, right? Because you're one,
coming
and it's
together.
Yeah.
And
So what was it was hard at first. Well, why was it so hard? What made it difficult?
Because we started this in like college, and there was only income coming from one side, so that made it difficult to like process.
So is it that foundation of independency?
For sure, that's where it came
your
from.
mom?
Yeah. That, and for me, it was common sense that if it's my money, I should be able to spend my money. It was a very single mentality, and so it took a lot.
So I completely understand that.
Right, so I have that for 17 years, and then I meet him, and it's like, what, huh?
Right, I've never thought that didn't make sense, but I knew that if that was your thought, we definitely wasn't going to work because I would never do that.
Right.
I would never do that, and I'm definitely not carrying that into a marriage.
Got it.
So if I'm just like, oh, okay, well, we're not married, so that's fine. That 17 turns into however many years later before we get married. So now if we were together for 6 years, so 17, now you add more years onto that, so it just gets worse. It's like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we're not carrying that over because we're trying to mimic or we're trying to emulate what we want to be, like where we want to be, and how we want to do things. And so we're trying to make sure that it's really not much of a difference. So when we get there, it's just we're just like, oh, we've already been here.
Gotcha. So what did you guys actually do to make sure that wasn't an issue?
22 hours of conversation. 22 hours of conversation.
So speaking of money, speaking of money, as we said before, one of the top 3 reasons why there there's a high rate of divorce. So how is it that you guys manage your accounts?
Just need to get it together.
It's okay. This is
It's about that
authentic.
time. It's about that time.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
How do we manage our money?
Yeah, you're
Accounts.
yeah. Singular, plural, joint.
Yeah, we both manage them. I mean, she does the bills and so forth. But as far as in and out, what goes in, what comes out, we kind of both manage that. Know what's kind of going on. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we just have one checking account and it's joint,
Yeah.
and that's just how it always was. The accountant in me tracks everything on spreadsheets, so I've got,
Yeah.
I know what's coming in, I know what's going out, I know what we need to have left as like a reserve, and so then we kind of just base our day-to-day spending on that. We try to budget groceries at like certain amounts every week, so that you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's rough. I mean, it requires planning. Like you can't
Yeah.
just be going to the grocery store and grab everything and get home and you're like, I can't make any food, but I spent $200 on carrots, and
Carrots, 24 carrots.
carrots.
Really?
Carrots. But yeah, so there's a joint account, which I mean, for the most part, I handle the money side, but in terms of how the money is spent for personal stuff, it goes back to when we were 16. Like it's just like always checking in. Just it's really out of consideration and respect, so that we're never at a point where it's like, crap, we don't have the money that we need. We wouldn't get there because I already see it, but it's just I don't ever even want to get close to that, and thankfully it's never so far it's never gotten there. And we do have separate credit cards, but we both have access to those credit cards. So
all of them are just like.
So the ones that we use, yes, we have credit cards that we've opened because it's like, 12 months no interest, so we just got it to buy our TV, and then we pay it off, and we don't really use it anymore.
Gotcha.
So those ones,
I have yes.
you get your own Best Buy card, but we both have access.
Right, we both have access to everything.
Yeah.
So you guys are on the cards together?
No, not all of them.
Just have the login.
We just have the login so that we can always just check on them and make sure everything's good.
Okay,
So,
cool. So you get to check in on her retirement portfolio?
No. He doesn't have access to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. He doesn't have access to those accounts. But I do have, I send it to him every year. I have a spreadsheet, of course, with all the websites, logins, passwords, and so I'll send it to him every year just in case. You never really know what happens, because I handle all the bills, so he wouldn't even know how to log into how to pay the mortgage or the utilities or anything like that, because I handle all that. So I don't think I've sent it in a while, but reminder, send the updated passwords to husband. But yeah, it's life has just been easier when we look at everything as ours. It avoids a lot of confusion. I feel like it avoids a lot of arguments too. So yeah, that's basically how the money works. It's all our money. So bonuses, I have a corporate job, so I get an annual bonus every year, but it's not ooh, where am I going to spend all my bonus? It just goes into the savings account where it's gonna grow, and we're gonna use it for the stuff that we hope to use it for in the future. So
got it. That makes sense. And it's good that you guys do that, because it's probably something I should do, because you never know what could happen.
Right.
You
Yeah.
you literally never know what could happen. You'd be sitting there, you can't pay a bill.
Lights off. How do I pay? It's not bills don't come in the mail for us to I don't even know how you pay a bill that comes in the mail. It's all
paperless.
I'm sure you do checks or
Yeah.
mail that I don't. So Yeah. None of those are coming in the mail, so things will just
Yeah,
start
none
getting
of-
cut off if you didn't know
Yeah.
how to access them. So
Yeah, that's very
right. Why is the water not running? Right. Yeah.
got the wrench. I think this will help. I think it'll help. Connor, is the water flowing?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably something I should do. But I think I
Other
do
than
the
paying rent,
education. Yeah, because I do the education part
Right.
as far as managing money and stuff like that. But I don't. Yeah.
Right.
Like I'd be able to pay like rent, my
Important.
car insurance, the
Your
car
note.
Yeah, the car note for the Nissan, which is our car,
It is her car.
our other car.
Yeah, you guys have 2 cars.
We have 2 cars.
We have 2 cars too, but it's more like, are we driving mom's car or dad's car? Like it's very
Yes.
clear, like
And
which
she doesn't
car
like
is you,
that.
which car
Yeah.
are you typically? It's just because
That's
they
different.
see you in
Right,
that car,
right, that has nothing
not
to do with
because
us.
we're like it's my
Yeah.
car.
Right,
It's
that has
one-
nothing to do with
it's
us.
one
The
thing if
kids
the
recognize
kids-
that.
Yes,
right.
It's another thing if someone says my car, and then when they say my car, you're like, yes, it's my
Right.
car.
Right.
What
Like,
did I say? It's your car too.
under your
Your
breath
car.
doesn't count. They can't hear that.
The Lord hears it. That's what counts.
in my heart.
Is he right?
Yes.
And the Lord
Deep in
knows
soul.
my heart.
Right. It's in there.
It's deep in my soul.
No, but yeah, like the stuff that's like specific that I already had accounts for that he just ended up taking over. Like we didn't
Oh,
change
okay.
the passcodes or anything.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to take care of
Yeah,
that.
into
But like,
those, yeah.
like the phone bill, we just recently combined that. So it's like, I don't have any more service. Like, can't call me.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like those type of
Oh,
things.
and I gotta put you on as an authorized user. I didn't do that.
All this combinations,
changes.
all these combining
It's a
things.
lot of
A lot of blending.
Lot.
yes.
A lot.
But yeah, but for us, we are together. But on this, we are together and apart.
You're both.
She has her money. She has her account. I have my account. And then we have one that we share together. Yeah. And it isn't like she has a checking account. She has a checking and savings, multiples. I have a
yeah.
checking and savings multiple. And the only thing we share together
Is the joint.
is the joint account.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we started off like that too. We had like multiple savings accounts, but like it got to be a lot. So we just have one savings, one checking, which
Like-
works for us.
You know when you go into the bank and you're like, I need to open a checking account. They're like, oh, you can tack on the savings account. So it's like I have
Right.
the checking savings together,
Yes.
and then there's a
Offshore. It's
No.
offshore savings.
for Ray. Is that checking?
That's a custodial.
But is it a checking?
That's a custodial
Whatever.
savings.
Ray has an account, so like that's under. So it's like it's not like I
Right.
have like these are my main two, my checking and my savings.
Yeah.
And then I have this savings and this savings. No, it's like my checking and savings, and then Ray's money, and then American Express.
But you do though. So you do have a checking account and then the joint checking and then all these savings. But each of the savings are purposed.
What?
You have the house, you got yourself, you got Ray. Ray actually has 2.
She does.
Yeah.
See, we haven't had a financial update in a minute.
You are leaving your clients hanging right now. She needs an update meeting.
Well, no, like as a client, you get access to like the budget. I assume that's the spreadsheet.
Yes, the
I
spreadsheet.
don't know.
Okay.
But it's got like the months and the weeks and like it's all broken down with numbers and stuff. But on the bottom is the part that I really pay attention to, where it's got like in the future, like we're gonna start opening this, we're gonna do this, tax return is gonna break down, and this is what we're gonna do with it. So like that's the stuff I look at. The other stuff where all the numbers at, I'm like, okay, all of them have been changed, so all the bills are paid. Okay, down here, anything I need to do? No. Like, that's pretty
Yeah.
much how I read that. So I know something was supposed to happen for
Yeah.
Ray, I just don't know.
And she's
that.
getting a CD this year too. So
Oh,
it's like there's multiples. Just like on my side, it's the
there's
same.
multiple.
The same thing, and everything is like purpose to make sure we're not touching it, doing
Yeah.
anything crazy. But yeah, so we I think it works.
Yeah.
It works. It works.
Sounds like it works.
It works well enough for now, and every now and then, you
I was
know,
gonna say, does it work?
like I said,
It works for now.
it works
Yeah.
well enough for now. Like I said, like that whole thing with Ray having another, like that's just because we haven't had our check-in with everything that happened last month. And
You said the American Express, so you know it's there.
I was talking about mine. Yeah,
You don't have one. It's just the house in Ray.
but isn't the house American Express?
Yeah,
See, okay.
but you know about all those. There isn't one that you don't know of.
You said Ray has something separate than the one that I have in the bank for her.
Which is the American Express.
That's the one I was talking about. Didn't know. And like I said, I know it's on the page. And it's gonna happen in the future. I just didn't know the future was the present. That's all.
You know what?
Yeah, like,
got it.
like
got
I
it.
said, we just hadn't had our financial check-in. But that's what I said. Like, without that stuff, because it's not that I didn't know. I just didn't realize we were at that point
Right.
yet. That's what that was. But you know, like I said, it works well enough for now with where we're at, and you know, if I just take my little time out that I need every now and then, because you know, but it's my money and I need it now. Like, you
It's
know.
just like JG Wagner.
Right.
But sometimes, no, like that. I'd say Ray actually knows the whole commercial.
Yeah, it gets you too.
But like, other than that stuff, and then like because he has access to all of the accounts, it's like, so why did you go to Jimmy John's or there's like this one thing like what is that for? Oh, that's Fashion Nova. You got something from Fashion Nova? Yeah, I told you. Like, you know.
Alvin in the Chipmunk voice. I don't understand.
Pretty much. It's a higher register. It's difficult to understand. So, yeah. But other than those times, I have to remember, because you guys did give us the advice of checking in and saying like, I was thinking about getting this, having the whole conversation.
Right.
Sometimes I have to but it's on sale, and if I miss the sale, then I know I'm not gonna get it because it's gonna be way too much money. Yeah, and he
It's ticking. It's ticking.
like,
28 seconds of text back.
and it literally, I'll be doing that too. Like,
Sometimes they be having the countdown clocks.
Oh, Fashion Nova, they do. They have the clock.
But
yes.
Sitting there sweating. Tomorrow, text back, please.
And I just keep texting like, so, like, are you on a lunch now? Can you just put a Y? Just put a Y or an N. Like, I don't need a whole.
Right.
Just put a Y or an N. Like,
Yeah.
so sometimes it's like, okay, well, I will get it, and then if I have to, like, I haven't ever gotten anything from Fashion Nova where it's like, oh, I'm gonna get this and send it back, and he doesn't know about it. But it's like other stuff, like on Amazon or something like we're more familiar with. So
Like
I
that blessed sweater. Go
that was purely miscommunication on your part.
What?
Yeah, on your part.
But I would say it is good as far as the communication factor in that. I think that, I guess, it adds another layer of protection around the relationship, that you really are exchanging information, ideas. Oh, is it okay? Is it cool?
Right.
Something like that.
It's not just the money thing, it's like a trust thing. Like, it's actually building your physical relationship as well. So it's got multiple benefits.
Yeah. It's. I'm just waiting to hear if there's gonna be any crying.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's no saying though.
Thought it was God's thunder.
Right.
What did I do?
Yeah, I have to say, I thought it was an interesting idea when you guys first brought it up, and then I did it, and there was some resistance, like, I don't care. It's like, but I know if I get it, you're gonna be like, well, why would you spend the money on that? So, like, you kind of do care.
Yeah.
And then it was mostly at the beginning, like me telling, like, and then it's like, oh, I did this. Okay.
Right.
However, like, we were supposed to talk about that beforehand.
Yeah.
So Um,
Right.
oh, I didn't think you'd mind. I get that, but it's like I don't. How are about you buying it? But we're
The
supposed to
principle.
practice this.
The principle.
So I didn't have him take a class. I didn't do that.
But it's
That.
really the principle,
It's
and
gotten
then
better.
the principle, and me knowing her that she's tired of renting. So it's just all of that little, miscellaneous spending.
Right.
You could actually put towards what it is that you actually want to do,
Yeah.
and which is, purchase a house. Which is crazy. We're not purchasing a house for ourselves.
Right.
Our plan is to purchase 2 homes because I have a heightened desire to retire, be done, and work.
Heightened desire.
Oh yeah, heightened desire.
As in mentioned in every conversation we talk
Yeah.
about work.
Yeah,
Well, if I
literally.
retired,
Yeah, if I retired, I could, be
we
around
were
the
talking
kids
about
more.
dinner. Why?
Because if I
Why?
retired, then I can cook the dinner.
It always somehow magically ties in.
Yeah.
Always.
So that's I guess another obstacle I think you gotta face in a relationship is when it's when one feels that they're done with the corporate world and working for someone. And I guess you could say I'm blessed in the sense that I found what it is that I want to do, and I am doing it, and I want to be more focused on that and help people in that capacity, rather than where I am now when there's a lot of different type of restrictions. And it's just it is truly a daily struggle.
Yeah.
Having to tell someone, oh, you have a great day, and I know that if I just had 2 more minutes, like far off away from work, to have this conversation, like your life would truly be changed, because financial literacy is priceless information. So that builds generational wealth. So that's why we're on pace to do 2 homes, because in a sense for us that'll be a wealth building. Me retiring.
Not to mention.
Yeah.
It
not to
always
mention.
goes in there.
And then
Always
retirement
comes back.
planning. So I just think that this will be more likely my first and last decade of working, because I'm only 3 years in. So 10 more years I'm good. So that's really my plan. I've reallocated my retirement to where it is 2030. I'm at 17%. Next year, next year I'll go at 1%, and I might just start doing the increments of 5 because I'm really dedicated towards being home.
Right.
When instead of growing up to be like Mike, I want to grow up and be like Carl. He's a professional dad. I really want to be around the kids more and be around the house more and doing stuff that I love to do and be easily and accessible as a father to be there, for my kids. Because a lot of things have happened this week. 9 lives are no longer, here on this earth. And I want to be there to implement as much as I possibly can, because I don't know if tomorrow is, promised.
Right.
So my question to you is, do you have those feelings, Ashley? Because you're in the corporate world, right along with me.
I am. So I am in my 12th year of being in the corporate world, which I never had a problem with. I'm anti-risk, very conservative in my life in general, and so I like going to a job and knowing that it's there. I mean, God willing, you don't get laid off, because that's happened also, and there was no stability. But I've been really blessed to be very employable and be afforded with enough income and provision so that he can be a professional dad. And so I was always like, nope, I'm good. Like, as long as my income can provide and we're happy and we're good and we're spending quality time, I'm good. However, yeah, 67, that's a whole 34 years from now. I'm starting to struggle with the idea of continuing to wake up and work for somebody else for the next 34 years. So the 2020s are or decade to figure out, you know, even if it's not me retiring in 2030, just figuring out how we can start making more passive income and not so completely reliant on somebody else's company to provide for our life. It's a crazy, like, when you think about it, you're like, I'm literally subject to you. Or like, so, and again, like, knowing that I've been, like, laid off, it just, it puts some skepticism in there and kind of makes you more like, well, maybe I should put more effort into figuring out how we can do something for us that is ours. So that's the goal. I'm there now. So we're hoping that we can start making some moves shortly to start the whole idea of, you know, passive income. And again, like generational wealth, teaching things that you know, our parents worked 9 to 5 and they stayed at their company for 30 years and they had pensions and social security and all these things that don't exist for our generation. And so I think we have to come up with more creative ways to live, because even if we did work until we're 67, there's not going to be enough money to live the lifestyle that you would want to live. On top of that, we don't know if we're going to be here till we're 67. So we're trying to figure out how to save it, but also enjoy life now while we have it, because that's, God doesn't promise us tomorrow. So
and secure the kids too.
Secure the kids as well. So it's becoming a shift, which is one of those things you got to deal with in marriage. I feel like we've been together for so long, our goals have changed, and like we have changed as people, and so it's interesting having to kind of like pivot and figure out how to navigate those changes together. So it will be very different.
You're excited to both of you guys to be independently dependent in a sense, like you're independent, but you're dependent upon yourself, rather than somebody else.
Excited. I think it's a little scary too, but
it's a mix.
Yeah, I would say I'm more excited on what can come of it. The actual like doing it is like, but what can come of it, that's where the excitement is. Like if we can actually, you know, take off and she can act like we can actually be in the bed, and
it always comes back to bed.
What's good?
That's good. Of our lives.
Yeah, we can actually, you know, be able to wake up and
Perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Shout out to the Purple Mattress. You can sponsor us, by the way, too. Please do.
Yeah, be able to wake up and we, you know, together and
together.
Yeah, that's the exciting part of it. Getting there is gonna be interesting. Scary.
Right. It'll be a lot of work, but I imagine there will be more flexibility.
Yes.
You know, we've got a group of friends, to remain nameless, but we plan vacations, and we have to ask for time off, and you know, if we're working for ourselves, it'll be a little easier than having to plan vacations out to 2022 and not even know if I got vacation time to take.
Right. Yeah.
Worst case, it doesn't work. You stop working and then it just doesn't work. It's just like you said, we have other people that we can move in with.
Right. People with rental properties.
People with rental properties.
We could be stable tenants.
Multiple.
We hear you guys. We hear you guys.
Backup plans.
You didn't even have to write the
don't have to worry. But yeah, we're the type of group. We're the type of group that literally planned like a year and a half for a cruise, not knowing we would even get it approved.
19 easy payments. Just trust and believe God will make a way with that vacation time.
And I'm so glad He made a way.
Right.
Because that's why we're here, able to have this conversation.
Yeah.
The proposal happened. She said yes. I was sweating bullets, but I mean, that's, I think,
Stammering.
I know, I had a whole speech and it did not come out the way it was supposed to. It's just, let me start over. Wait, forget it. Yes, no.
It's okay. Will you marry me? Yes, I will. The important parts were hit.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so I think we appreciate you guys coming on.
Of course.
Helping us turn that 19 years of us knowing 20, we're in 2020, so 20 years of knowing each other into 91 years. What?
Always have to bring that one to. What is it that you told me? It's in the past. Leave it in the past. You
Well, this
always
is
have
part of my thing. I gotta bring up 17
every
years
episode.
before the doors were open. And then 2 years of so we can get it. So yeah. What I do.
Anyways.
But yeah, so I appreciate you guys coming on to the hot seat. I think we did talk about kind of a hot topic of leaving work and how that changes the income and you can't be as free, but then the hustle turns on because now you're walking in whatever it is that you want to do, your purpose, being committed to it, and that you're taking the steps to plan for it so that there is a season of reserves because whatever you step into isn't going to flourish immediately. I know that with Wilson Financial. It ain't there yet, but it's working towards it. So you're gonna be alright.
We're in this together.
Yeah, we're in this together.
I know. And I worry enough for the both of us. That's how that works. He's all in. I'm like, Jesus. Yeah, we're good. Jesus.
So in the future, what you're going to see is other members of the crew that we'll bring on to help us strengthen our marriage at that point. It'll be us to strengthen our marriage. So hopefully we can have you guys back on to talk about that segment because we really want to start off right. And you guys have been helping us as we go through our pre-marriage counseling with our pastor. Then we have our secondary sessions with you guys. So we do appreciate that you guys' your eyes, your ears, and the doors of your house are open to us to have those different type of conversations.
Reinforcement.
Yeah, reinforcement. And before she came into the picture, allowing me to be, more open to stepping into like that type of serious committed relationship.
Go.
And marriage. So you guys have really helped kids. I'm telling you, man, kids.
Blockers.
Yeah.
And haters.
Blockers, haters. We have to have 6 locks on this door. But yeah, so I really do appreciate you guys coming on.
Of course, thanks for having us.
Anything you want to say? Close us out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moral of the story. If she has a problem, we have a problem.
Yes.
More of the story. Shirt coming to you soon.
Knock the knowns out the park, so that way when the unknowns come, you have an established routine on how to work through different types of problems.
Great advice.
Those are probably like the two greatest pieces of advice that we've received from you guys. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you guys. So, thank you for coming.
Of course.
Thank you all for watching. Remember, we can be found.
Give them the hashtag.
I don't know.
Hashtag emphasis on the Clarks.
I don't know.
Emphasis on the Clarks.
That's us.
That's them.
I'm
That's
confused.
them.
Does it say emphasis on the Clarks? I've never seen that.
He put that in the comment.
Yeah, I put that in the comment on YouTube, and it's just been going. Hashtag emphasis on the Clarks. Yeah. So you can find that on the YouTube.
On the YouTube.
Where we want you to share, like, and comment, and you can find us where else?
Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, wow, a shocking response.
I was not expecting you to have me speak after that.
Goodness. And then we got
LifeWithQFLO@gmail.com. That is our email address. Again, life with the letter Q, FLO@gmail.com. Just send us comments, questions, anything you want to specifically have us talk about. If you want to be on the hot seat, that's the place to go so that we can reach out to you and set all that up.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of it is for exemplifying blending of families. We noticed that there wasn't a lot of content out there that we could look to give us a lot of guidance. So we thought we would take our experiences along with what you guys share with us as far as how it is different ways to blend the family, blend our thought processes, being independent and single for a long period of time, in addition to strengthening what's most important, which is our relationship. So that's what the HOTC is all for. So thank you guys for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.